Deputy William Ruto can or will the majority party hold? Also, President Uhuru Kenyatta on the spot again for putting his cabinet secretaries on the spotlight yet again. The president publicly admonishing CSS Mwangi Kiunjuri, Monica Juma and Peter Munya. Why not just sack them, Mr. President? Kenyans have been asking. And the drought continues as famine ravages parts of this country due to prolonged dry season. Residents reporting deaths, the government denying. But is there a government policy in place to arrest this perennial disaster? Welcome to Sunday edition, your only Sunday morning political show where we will be dissecting the biggest political and policy issues in the Republic. Sit back for the next 120 minutes. My panel is here. We did miss you last Sunday due to some golf in the city, but we are back. They are here to try and help put perspectives in what's ailing this country. I have with me Dismas Mokua, political risk analyst, political analyst Mark Bichachi and Hesbon Owila, and political strategist Kipchumba Karori. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
All right, so before we begin, let's start at that soundbite by the President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was speaking about fighting those who are involved in corruption. Listen.
Wewe kama unataka kuingiana na mambo ya ufisadi, yeah? Tutapigana na wewe. You can be my brother, you can be my sister, you can be my closest political ally, you can be whatever you are, but you are an enemy of the Republic of Kenya and we will fight with you.
All right, let's begin with this. Dismas, let me begin with you. There was a lot of controversy over whether he did say at first, my closest political ally. You can be my sister, you can be my closest political ally. There was a contention whether he did say that before, but what is your take on this utterance by the president?
Well, you know, the president has said times above number that is not going to allow corruption architects to be in his administration, either serving in the cabinet or as principal secretaries. And what he said while he was in Windhoek is nothing strange.
Yes.
He said it at times above number in Kenya. But now the big question is, when will the president transform his words into action? Because right now the president is actually behaving like a member of the civil society, like Murai in Kisi or Wafula in Moyale. He's got the powers. The constitution gives him powers to fire these ministers, cabinet secretaries or principal secretaries at his pleasure.
All right.
For me, I think time for him issuing threats left, right and center is long gone. We need to see action. We need to see blood on the walls. We need to see the architects of corruption going home. There are many people, and it's very, very clear that for the people that he has appointed to office, he needs to fire them. At his pleasure, he can fire the entire cabinet. A few days ago, he fired Rashid Echesa. He did not need to explain to anybody.
All right.
And also the Public Service Commission needs to do the same by simply going through administrative acts. And you know, most of the corruption deals in Kenya are actually driven by public servants of rank. And those ones can be sorted out by the Public Service Commission. So for the president to keep on issuing these threats times above number, Kenyans are getting very frustrated. They elected him into office. He's the one who needs to take action, and he needs to take action today. If he doesn't do that, he's got about 3.5 years left, and he suffers the risk of being remembered as the president who presided over corruption in Kenya.
Mark, this seems to be getting a notch higher every time. The tension within that majority party between the two men at the top, is it going to let any time soon?
I don't think it's going to let any time soon because too much blood has been drawn in that relationship. The reality is that if you look at the actions post that speech, post the deletion of that social media, the social media accounts of the president, then you realize that the term political ally has become quite a hot potato. Now, the gaffe that they've made is not the gaffe in the post, it's the gaffe of deleting those accounts, because then it's created tension, it's created a lot of innuendo and rumor. And then at the same time, the president, in talking about his brothers, his sisters, and his closest political allies, it tells you that he's a president, A, either who's very serious about the fight against corruption and is somehow crippled by forces we cannot see, or this is a merry-go-round he's taking us round to. Because what the president is doing is akin to the following scenario, and I'll tell you a short story. If you come to my house and you're a visitor, and my house help or house manager offers us food that is in very bad taste and it tastes horribly, and then I say, you, my house girl, I hate how you cook, I will severely punish you. Your natural expectation would be that the next time you come to my house, the house help should be gone. If she's not gone, then be sure she has a higher status than house help. Maybe she's become a wife. So the question is, of what status are these people the president is complaining to, that suddenly he can only complain and not fire? It does not bode well for his reputation.
Hesbon, there was the original video clip that we believe was sent by State House. It did not have that part where the president is saying, you can be my closest political ally. And then we finally got the clip that has that. And then the accounts of the president were suspended. From a communication perspective, where does this leave the presidency or State House, for that matter?
I think for the presidency, at the first level of looking at it, you'd probably want to say that there is a communication gap in terms of to what extent do they panel beat whatever information they want to pass to the public. And it doesn't bode well with the people who are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the utterances that are made by the president are utterances that are a lot more diplomatic and a bit stately in addressing the issues that affect almost everyone in this country, without opening other interpretations that may essentially jeopardize the relationship between the president and the people he's working with.
Right.
But then the second interpretation is very simple, that maybe their intention was basically to talk about a close political ally. And after talking about a close political ally, feign, the fact that someone hacked into their accounts and, of course, delete all the accounts and sit back and look at the reactions of Kenyans. And I want to believe that that could be, the intention. And then there's a third interpretation that we may pick out of it, that there is a lot of indecisiveness, there is a lot of gullibility around the presidency, to the extent that they have no clear idea of what they want to do as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. And I think that brings to the fore a lot of issues, that if you're fighting something and you're not decisively fighting that thing, either there is something that is holding you hostage, or there is a bit of information that you also have that you don't want to get to the public, that makes it almost impossible for you to fight corruption decisively. And it is unfortunate that that is the interpretation that is coming, that people are beginning to question if there is a close political ally who you will also fight. Why is it that you keep telling us? I mean, it's been so many months down the lane.
Right.
If it was a question of dealing with corruption, it wouldn't be a question of you giving the media and the public one soundbite after another. Because what we get from the soundbites are just retributions. People react to them, and then ultimately we don't see this fight.
So the Deputy President, William Ruto, has been urging the Jubilee Party to remain united, this coming just hours after that tweet on corruption by the president that seemed to anger political allies of the deputy president. Before I come to Kipchumba, there has been some statements about the suspension of the president's social media accounts. Let's listen to that.
It's a statement that was quickly followed by a tweet to President Uhuru Kenyatta's 3.6 million followers on the social media site Twitter. Minutes later, not only was the tweet pulled down, the head of state's entire social media accounts, including Facebook and Twitter, were suspended. State House and the Chief of Staff attributed the suspension to what they term as, quote, unauthorized access to the official social media handles of His Excellency the President. But not many online users are buying that narrative. Some believe 3 words in his statement, closest political ally, may have been targeting his deputy, who has just this past week claimed that the ongoing war against corruption was unfairly targeting his close quarters and therefore compromising his 2022 presidential ambitions.
All right, Kipchumba, what is your take from where you sit, the tension between the two camps? Or is it all manufactured, or we're reading too much?
They are not manufactured. Anytime there are interests which pull towards different directions, there will always be camps. What we are seeing here, there are interests that pull towards succession politics and post Uhuru Kenyatta presidency, and there are those that want to safeguard a bit of status quo. But what is happening here is, I think there is a lot of naivety and immaturity in terms of the people handling Uhuru Kenyatta's communication. Because look at it this way, at the 21st century, and when you talk about the president, we are not talking about the president of a prophetic church somewhere. We are talking about the president of the Republic of Kenya. You cannot wake up one morning and say that the security has been compromised. If somebody can compromise the security of Uhuru Kenyatta's social media pages, what happens to the other Kenyans? The virtue that this is Uhuru Kenyatta's page alone we have interest as Kenyans, because whatever he do and whatever he posts in that thing concerns us. So to wake up one morning and we have not seen a statement from the minister in line, Musheru, to tell us what really happened, because Kenyans are waiting. The other thing is,
so do you believe
Uhuru Kenyatta,
his accounts were really hacked?
That one is ogwash. Uhuru Kenyatta must come out and be a decisive president. And as I've always stated here for parliamentarians, I'll tell the president today as an advisor, as a young person, we are the people reeling from the problems Jubilee has caused to the nation. And what we need to do, he must post the oath he took somewhere, so that each morning he must be able to refresh his mind that what did he undertook to do for us. The other thing is this, Ben, look at it this way. If Uhuru Kenyatta believes that his deputy is corrupt, he has all the right to come out and say and send him to the DCI. We cannot be fighting shadows and talking about, we cannot define who a political ally is. If he thinks Murathe, his political ally, is corrupt, tell him to go to DCI. If he thinks Raila, because that is the bromance in town, he should send him to DCI or to EACC.
Right.
But fighting shadows leaves two things. And from that post, there are two things we must decipher from a political point of view. One is that Uhuru Kenyatta, although he has the authority to govern the nation, he is losing power in a very quick manner, because he has remained a talking shop, addressing issues about corruption in paper, but nothing is happening. He can fire ministers, but he has chosen to be talking to them. How will we take him seriously?
Okay. So a lot of Kenyans have been asking also, before I leave you alone, Kipchumba, that political ally could mean anybody. It doesn't have to be the deputy president.
But that's why I talked about immaturity. The immaturity here is Uhuru Kenyatta has addressed this issue before in a public rally, and there was nothing out of it. But today, why did the people around him, and that's what I'm saying, there is maturity within the people who handle the president apparatus and instruments, why did they have to delete that part of political ally? They caused now, they brought the issues. But again, if you are fighting corruption, that statement is supposed to, that is the best statement we need to get. But when you delete it and you fake and feign ignorance that somebody was trying to do something, we start questioning what is happening here. Do we have people who are given the job with the wrong skills?
All right. Is this sustainable, though, the fight against corruption at the highest level? If we are to believe the president's utterances, it seems to be based around the deputy president, and does it have to be? Is it sustainable?
You know, there's a question that you ought to pose to the president himself. But starting from that clip, when the president says that he's going to fight corruption, and if you're the brother or sister or closest political ally, it doesn't matter, you're going to be a victim, you're going to be affected. One wonders why not a single family member has come up to give a statement to rebut that, saying that I'm not the one. But the only one we are focusing on is closest political ally. Does it mean that among his political allies, there's one who stands out and who probably suspects himself that he could be the victim, that he could be the person that the statement is attributed to? You recall a few days ago, when you're talking about those dams, again, no name was mentioned, but a senior politician from nowhere came out to offer clarity on the amounts stolen. Would it be the case of the guilty are always running? Because, you know, you just say the closest political ally. That could be anybody. It could be the MCA around the State House in Kilimani. It could be my MP in Kisii. It could be, I don't know where they comes from, which constituents, but it could be anybody. So why is it that there are particular political personalities who are immediately guilty of that statement, who have become nervous? The answer could be very simple, that the guilty are always running. But for the president, he needs to ensure that this fight is sustainable. And it can only be sustainable if he translates his words into action. When he's seated with the cabinet ministers in Namibia, and he's complaining like a normal Kenyan, that these cabinet ministers are not taking notes.
We'll get to that.
That the personal assistant is not taking notes.
Yes.
What are we supposed to do? In my view, the president has got a very unique chance. He's got a very unique opportunity as the appointing authority to fire whoever he deems that is an architect of corruption or a beneficiary. What he's doing today is what people in the civil society are supposed to be doing, who are supposed to be raising issues. But the president has got the unique mandate. He was voted by Kenyans. He went into office, and his oath says that he shall protect lives and properties of all Kenyans. Now, the lives of Kenyans are being stepped upon, the properties of Kenyans being stepped upon, and he knows who are the architects of this.
Right.
Why can't he just, you know, just on a Sunday morning like today, issue another executive order and send these guys packing?
Right.
If he doesn't do that, then the normal Kenyan in the street will form one conclusion,
right,
that he's held hostage and he's got political debts. Over the weekend I traveled, and wherever you meet people, they're beginning to ask, do we actually have a president in the Republic of Kenya? Do we have a president who can act? You know, the figures we are talking about here in corruption are obscene. Today, stealing $1 billion is nothing to shock anybody. It's now going to, the standard is becoming 10 billion plus. And we have embraced impunity, mediocrity, and corruption to the level that they've become a best practice. People no longer want to work hard because they're saying, why should I work hard? I pay taxes, and then some top officials are going to squander it. So even people are running away, they don't want to work hard. They're just waiting for them to get into elective office, and they steal. If you go to the villages today, the only people who are said to be doing well are the ones who are making money, and they're making money from government. Right now, there are very few Kenyans who are earning money out of harnessing the factors of production. So what the president must do, and you remember when the Prime Minister of Singapore died, he sent a message of condolences and goodwill. And I think that's what the president needs to do. If he needs to sacrifice his brother so as to make sure the corruption is sustainable, let him do that.
All right,
if he suspects that the deputy president is an architect of corruption, let him do that. We shouldn't have any sacred gods in Kenya in this fight.
Let's talk about, you know, Ben.
Yes.
The president cannot have the same powers as Mark Bichachi seated on this bench.
Right.
We cannot both be complaining. We cannot both be saying this minister, that deputy president, that Raila, that person. We cannot be on the same par, surely. How is this bench doing the same thing as the sitting president of a republic? How do we have the same powers? How do we have the same microphone to complain?
Right.
Today, if there was a demonstration at State House, Uhuru will most likely be with the demonstrators. He'll possibly be there saying, yes, Shika hao, Nasa hao. That's probably his slogan today, because that's what he keeps telling us. He's acting as if he has no teeth, he has no bite to his back, and quite frankly, let me tell you what happens. And I need to warn the president. If you have a child and you keep telling that child, nitakuchapa siku moja, and you never beat up that child, the next thing that child will do will shock you. They'll burn the house.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. But before we wind up on this, I want to talk about the political ramifications of this. And those who have been saying this is not about corruption. It's about the ruling Jubilee Party being rocked from within. The leader of majority in the National Assembly, Aden Duale, is on record yesterday having saying that, quote, I am appealing to the party leader, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and his deputy William Ruto, and all the membership of this party, that we should not allow the destruction of a party equivalent to the ANC of South Africa, saying that they did not dissolve so many political parties ahead of the last election, only to be destroyed or to invite other parties to rock the boat.
Well, let's take the example of ANC. Jacob Zuma single-handedly ruined the Republic of South Africa. Did the ANC do itself a favor by sticking behind him? Let's be clear. If we're going to fight corruption, the fight against corruption is more important than a party called Jubilee. Jubilee cannot stay together for the purpose of staying together. It stays together for the purpose of the betterment of this nation. And the truth is, there is no body that exists that does not have an immune system that is trained to remove organs that are harmful to itself. So Jubilee as a party, if the president is serious about fighting corruption, the same way he prevailed upon Murathe to resign, or Murathe prevailed on himself to resign, that same way is the same way we should take the fight against corruption. We should not say that Dismas and I should be friends whether Dismas is killing people, pillaging villages. We should be friends because we have a show together. That's not how unity works. Unity is for a purpose, and what is the purpose of Jubilee? The purpose of Jubilee is to bring great benefit to this country. If that purpose is not being met by Jubilee membership itself, for example, going to say that DCI has no mandate to investigate corruption cases, that is a Jubilee that needs to be broken apart. If the leader of government business, mark that title, in the Senate, a lawyer of rank can stand in front of people and say that the DCI has no mandate investigating corruption cases, then how then do you justify such a person occupying office? Because that person clearly does not believe in the Constitution, does not believe in the laws of this republic, and has decided that his political interests are more important than what is good and right for this country. So should Jubilee stay together? No, it should fall apart, because if it is going to stay together for the purpose of continuing corruption, for the purpose of continuing to ruin this country, it is better fallen apart than it is united in our destruction.
Ben, just a quick rider. That these MPs within Jubilee, who, when they want to attack President Uhuru Kenyatta, they go for Raila Odinga. Because for this handshake, and they keep on attacking it every day, Raila did not shake hands with himself. He shook hands with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, why do you want to keep on attacking Raila Odinga every day? Why can't you go straight to the party leader? Because, you know, you cannot spend hours on end claiming that Raila Odinga has come to this political party because he wants to collapse it. He did not invite himself.
Speaking of Raila Odinga, Raila is on record telling politicians to not politicize the war on corruption. Is it possible to not politicize the war on corruption?
I think it's a bit difficult to not politicize the war on corruption, because the chief culprit in this case is the president himself. You know, corruption is corruption. It doesn't matter whether it is your ally, your brother, your sister, or yourself. Corruption is corruption. So the moment you have the president talk about my ally, my brother, my sister, my family, he's essentially politicizing corruption, because that is it. It doesn't matter who steals. A thief is a thief, whether it's my brother or not. So the moment we start, compartmentalizing that these are the thieves and we will deal with them, we are essentially attracting political attacks from people who perceive that to be, a political affront on their political leaders. If we have the president just stick to the general idea that if you're corrupt, you're corrupt. It doesn't matter who you are, we will fight corruption. No one will pick any insinuations and innuendos in his statements. If you ask any Kenyan today who is President Uhuru's closest political ally that he was referring to, they'll tell you it's the deputy president, because when Jubilee was coming together, it was not Uhuru and Duale. No, Duale and company had to follow the deputy president, William Ruto. Minor Commander Moses Kuria and the rest had to follow President Uhuru Kenyatta. So the only two people who came in as allies, the president and the deputy president. So it is the president himself who is attracting all these things. If he knows anyone is guilty, and I think the DPP and the DCI are taking cue. They are all over the media talking about the people they will arrest. We want them to tell us the people they will arrest, because that again is politicization and weaponization of the fight against corruption. They just need to arrest. When someone is arrested, we will know that this person has been arrested because he's a thief. But when we start preparing us for an arrest of somebody you're not going to arrest, essentially you're waking up foot soldiers. And there are so many. You listen to a Kapsaret member of parliament, and you know that the person who made him make that statement is the person who started with a statement that in itself was politicized.
Will Jubilee survive?
Well, I've said it on this show before that Jubilee is made up of two parties. There is the URP wing and there is the TNA wing.
That's it.
And I think the problem in the formation of Jubilee is that people are whipped. People did not come because there was an ideology and decided that we need one political party. That is why Honorable Duale is reminding us that they had to fold parties.
Okay.
So they folded those parties in a very mechanical way, you know, and people joined forces knowing that this is a strength that we have, this is a strength that we have. So there was some muting of certain voices,
right.
and certain voices were lauded. But now when things become thick, I think those lines will be drawn clearly.
Chumba, will this party survive?
The question should be, when we talk about this party, who is this party? Because as far as I'm concerned, how can political parties are made? They are weaved in a manner that it is the forthcoming election that matters for the party. But whether you will survive or not, we have to see what the people, the owners of the party are doing. We might say we are democracy, but if a party lacks decisive energy, that is a political party. You can have a political party where Kimani Ngunjiri and the president answers him that deserves to be surviving. It should be dead. But what we must do going forward is that Kenyans must now learn that when the next political party will be formed, that political party should be formed in the basis that it is the interest of Kenyans that will be at the heart of it, and not the interest of politicians. The other thing that we must look at it, Ben, that I must comment on it is this. How do you expect us to be talking about a political party whose we don't know where is the political party? Because as it is now, one, we hear the president addressing other issues here, other members address other issues.
The president
here.
is the party leader.
He is the party leader on paper, but is he the political party leader? That is the question.
All that thought, we can dissect that a bit more. No longer it is the Jubilee Party, the latest theatrics around the war on corruption following the president's utterances. We take a quick commercial break here on Sunday edition. When we come back, we shall be talking about the utterances of the president when he was in Namibia, and that is when he was admonishing a couple of his cabinet secretaries, that is Foreign Affairs Monica Juma, Devolutions Mwangi Kiunjuri, Agriculture, that is, and of course Peter Munya. Is the president in control? Why not sack them? Kenyans have been asking. When we come back.